It's fall, y'all. Well, technically, we're just starting September and it's not quite fall, but if you look at all the brands and coffee houses, it's definitely pumpkin spice season. So today, I thought I'd take a recipe out of one of my cookbooks and make a gluten-free pumpkin spice bread. This recipe looks super easy. It uses individual gluten-free flours, so I will show you where to get those. It doesn't use any xanthan gum, so if that's a concern for you, there's none in this recipe. I'm Jamie with SavorySaver. I share gluten-free recipes, tips, tricks, and resources to make your gluten-free lifestyle easier. So please consider hitting subscribe, and let's get started. Okay guys, so just for reference, I am cooking out of the Against the Grain cookbook by Nancy Kane. I got this cookbook probably 6 months ago. I've done a couple things out of it, but nothing lately. I will link below if I can find it in case you like the recipe or want to see what else the cookbook offers. You may be familiar with the name because a lot of times in the freezer section of your grocery store, there is an Against the Grain pizza line, and that is from this person. So let's get to baking. All right, so first things first, we want to get our baking pan ready. I have got an 8 by 4.5 inch baking pan that I have greased. I used shortening, but by all means use whatever you like to grease your pans with. I also am going to turn my oven on to 350 degrees Fahrenheit so that can preheat while we're mixing everything up. Let's put our baking dish off to the side and start putting together our dry ingredients. So to a medium bowl, we want to add our dry ingredients, and it's about 1.5 cups of ingredients. So you don't need a super large bowl, but you just want something that you can get a whisk into and whisk everything together. So you want to start with 1/2 cup of light buckwheat flour. And this is one of the ingredients that I don't always see in the grocery stores, so I'll link below to that. I'm also going to use 1/2 cup of tapioca starch, 1/2 cup of coconut flour, and this ingredient is super absorbent, so I'm thinking that this is going to take care of a lot of that liquid in there. It's going to hold that moisture and keep the bread nice and moist. To our flours, we want to add our spices. So I'm going to move you guys closer so we can go over the spices. So for this, you want 1/2 teaspoon of fine salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. So we can add all of those and then give everything a whisk to break up any of those flours. We want the spices all mixed in. Once everything's mixed together, we can put that off to the side. Next, you want to get a large bowl for your wet ingredients because we're going to add our dry ingredients to the wet ingredients after we mix it up. So you want to start with 2 large eggs that have been cracked. Room temperature is best. It will help everything mix much better when you start blending it together. To the eggs, we want to add 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. We're also going to add 1/2 cup of oil, and you want to measure your oil into your measuring cup first, because what we're going to do is we're going to add 1/2 cup of honey, and the oil will help the honey release quickly. So I'm actually going to leave this oil in here, and we'll measure the honey right onto this measuring cup. Let's add all that. And if you look in there, you can't see hardly any honey, which is what I was looking for. Now you want to get out your hand mixer and you want to beat everything together until it's frothy. So I beat it for about a minute or so and it's nice and frothy. It's got small bubbles all over the top. So you want to make sure everything is cohesive, make sure that oil and the egg and all that is emulsified. So next, we want to add our pumpkin to the ingredients. So I'm going to add 1 full 15-ounce can of pumpkin. We're also going to add 1/4 cup of water. Now I'm going to beat it together until it's well blended. Okay, this didn't take very long to blend together, but it is pretty wet because of the water and all that. So make sure you blend it on low because I do have some splattering going on. Now we want to add our dry ingredients to the wet. And this is going to thicken up as that coconut flour absorbs that moisture. And then we do have one more ingredient to add after this is blended. Okay, this has thickened up really well. Like it's definitely more like a quick bread consistency. So let's add our final ingredient. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And before I add this, the recipe also calls for some sweet and spicy pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. I don't have those. I don't want to make any. I'm going to leave them out because I also think that that may not be what I want in here to begin with. So I just want the bread, but if you wanted to add some pumpkin seeds, you could definitely do that. The recipe calls for 1 cup of them to be chopped. So now that our baking soda is in here, you want to beat it for 1 minute. All right, we've been mixing it for a minute. Let's get everything back into the bowl. Move this to the side. Get our baking dish. Let's get it put into our dish or pan. Okay, so once everything's in the pan, just go around and make sure everything's against the edges and the corners. Now we're ready to bake this. You want to bake it for 1 hour and 15 minutes or until you insert a toothpick in the center and it comes out clean. Once it comes out of the oven, we're going to let it cool and I'll slice it and we'll give it a taste. So it's been 1 hour and 15 minutes of baking time. It's been another hour or so of cooling time, but our gluten-free pumpkin bread is done. Those pumpkin spices just made the entire house smell amazing. Cinnamon and ginger and nutmeg. I mean, it's starting to feel like fall and it's still 90 degrees outside. So here's the bread. I've cut into it. It rose nicely in the pan and then stopped rising just like any other traditional quick bread. I cut into it. Use a serrated knife on this. You'll get cleaner cuts when you cut this bread because the top of it likes to try to crumble, just like with some gluten quick breads. So 3 or 4 slices in, I am noticing a little bit of darker bread here. So there's a little more moisture in that part of the bread. I don't think it's a concern. I don't think that it's not cooked. I just think that that's maybe where it was baking last. One thing you may want to try with this recipe is to leave it in the pan, completely cool it in that pan, and then take it out. That might actually help it cook a little bit longer with that residual heat from the pan. So let's put this down. Here's a plate with a couple slices. You can actually see this a little better. So you can see it's got some nice crumb in it. It's got those little bubbles from that baking soda reacting with the other ingredients. It's a nice golden brown orangey color from the pumpkin. Like it cooked really well, guys. I was really impressed at how well everything mixed and baked together. So now the final thing is to give it a taste. I've got another piece that I cut in half, and part of the reason I only have a half a piece here is because I've already eaten a slice. I ate the end slice, and end slices are not my favorite. I don't know if that they're everyone's favorite. If you like end slices, or they're your favorite, or you hate them, leave it in the comments below and let me know. Sometimes I like them, most of the time I don't, but you still have to eat them, you can't waste it. So let's take a bite of this. Really good pumpkin flavor. Nice cinnamon and ginger, I can taste both of those. It's moist. I'm sorry if you don't like that word, I know my wife hates that word. The crumb in it is just really good. I can't tell that it's gluten-free, which is even more amazing than anything else, I think. I think if you took this somewhere, it would be gone. I really think that everyone's gonna eat it and like it. It says fall. It's easy to make. I don't know what else there is to say about this other than definitely check out this recipe. Maybe even check out the cookbook. That's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave me any comments below, and I hope to see you on the next one.